Yo, yeah, I'm good now. Okay, I got audio. Before I didn't think I had audio, but I think I'm straight now. I think I'm straight. I think we good. Just doing a little cleanup work here. Just going through my projects at my job. I'm at work right now, so I'm going through all my projects, trying to make sure my stuff's straight. Make sure I don't have nothing pending for December. Or whatever. Just trying to stay up on top of all my little stuff here, man. It's a crazy time of year. Everybody at my job going on vacation. I'm going. I'm taking days off. Thanksgiving coming up. Man, what? So yeah, it's just a lot of stuff to do. A lot of stuff to like just make sure it's under control and where it needs to be. This is that time of year. Ooh wee. I'm looking at this Shanquella Robinson situation that's playing out. I might have to track this because it is some stuff going on. This is some. Seems like a young lady died on a trip. One of my girls' trips, whatever. And there's video of her like getting beat by one of her travel mates, like beat her up. Hmm, interesting. I'm gonna have to stay on top of that because I want to see what that happened. Because that she traveled somewhere and then got jumped by one of her homies that she traveled with. Maybe she didn't know the girl that well or whatever. Maybe they had a beef and they went, uh, you know, they went, they traveled and things got crazy and people evidently she got beat up and she might have. Listen, fighting somebody is dangerous. Um, Obviously, because it's fighting, it's mutual, it's physical combat, it's violence, and getting beat up, no matter what the circumstances are, whether you started the fight or whatever, and then beating somebody up, you could hit somebody and beat up somebody and end up killing them on accident. And I think that is what a lot of people online are positing happened in this particular scenario with this young lady who went down to, I believe it was Cabo San Lucas, with her friends, went down there, got into an altercation, and got into a fight. And I don't know if she started the fight, the other girl started the fight, but she got the worst of it because she's dead now. Be careful who you put yourself around. And you got to be careful who you put yourself in close proximity to, because I never had anybody, I never had a man put his hands on me. Never. Never in my. I'm 39 years old. I've never been physically assaulted. I have situations that almost rose to violence, but never actually did. And the only time I had anybody put their hands on me, I had a woman years ago try me, you know, physically. She didn't get nothing off too serious though. Either way, putting your hands on somebody, that's a life changer. It could be a life changing situation for you and the person that you beating up. Because I think a lot of people underestimate their hands. We think that a fist fight is just a little simple fist fight. And nothing will ever get hit harder than the earth. Nothing hits harder than the earth. That is the hardest punch that you'll ever take. Is getting hit by the earth. You know, if you punch somebody and they hit the head the wrong way, they could be out of here forever. But you see a lot of these violent attack videos online of folks who get into these physical altercations, you know. And then, of course, it's always the phone. People always put the phone on. And that's a good thing because I would presume to think that somebody who traveled with them also filmed this little kerfuffle. Because if it weren't for that, this young lady's family may not ever know what happened. So, those phones, man, those phones can be very valuable things. As far as, record keeping is concerned. Because if they travel down there with the girl, let's say it's a group of women and they travel down there with the girl and the girl ends up dead. Well, they could all panic and say, well, we got to cover this up. But the video obviously was recorded by somebody who probably traveled with them because, and I say that because they were in a hotel room. The fight is from a standpoint, the vantage of something that happened in a hotel room. So I'm thinking it was one of the travel mates that recorded the joint. Boy, but I tell you, man, be careful who you travel with. Just don't be going out of town with anybody. If you want to know somebody, one of the ways you can find out who a person is, of course, time can only tell who a person is. But if you want to accelerate your discovery of an individual, of their get down and their habits, travel with them. Traveling with an individual, you can see a few things. Might not always be a guarantee, but traveling with somebody, traveling with somebody to tell you who a person is. Just travel with them. You get to see how people traveling with somebody will show you. Let me put these notes on this. On this. Traveling with somebody can kind of help you to learn a few things about them. I mean, that's terrible shit. Shanquello Robinson. I think that's how you say it. I gotta look it back up. Then you got this shooting that just happened at UVA with these football players. That's another thing that popped up in the news recently. I gotta get some information on that to see exactly what's happening with that, because that's not an everyday occurrence. So that's interesting. Man, I got a lot of projects in my job. I gotta just go through and clean up. Like tomorrow is just gonna be just go through clean up project day. Yikes, man. But it's okay. Give me something to do. It's all good. No big thing. Give me something to focus on. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Just making sure, like, administrative work and making sure your paperwork is good and stuff that you're doing is vitally important. It's tedious. It'll eat your day up and eat your time up, but just making sure that you verify that you did what you were supposed to do, especially if you got like 30, 40 outstanding projects. Whatever it is, however you work or whatever type of, if you have a project oriented job, there are tasks that have to be completed for each one of those projects. Just making sure that you stay on top of your game with that can, man, I tell you, man, you cannot remember everything like in your brain. You have to, you just have to be good at being organized. That is like the most important thing. Making sure you cross your T's and dot your I's. But I can already tell you, it's 3:30 now. The first hour of my day tomorrow is going to be dedicated definitely to project cleanup for work. Okay, now what else is popping off? Oh, Poland. Apparently, the Ukrainians accidentally sent a missile over in Poland, and these are long range missiles. Apparently, they fired off a missile to Poland, and they were trying to, like, some anti aircraft type of missile, long range missile that the Ukrainians used to fight Russian forces. It flew over into Poland and like killed two civilians. That's not good. That's not a good thing. So they're investigating that. Evidently, like these weapon systems, man, these weapon systems, you gotta be you definitely gotta be careful about that. Um, these weapon systems are dangerous, and you gotta understand the people who are using these weapon systems in the military in Ukraine. It's not like they're the elite, highly trained type of soldiers that we would see in more developed militaries. Not to make it an excuse, but training on how to use a weapon system that has missiles associated with it's not like you're trying to teach somebody how to use the espresso machine at Starbucks. Boy, boy, boy. That's not good, man. That's not good. NATO is involved. NATO had to call an emergency session, emergency little get together, to discuss the situation at hand with the firing off of this missile. So that's interesting. That's interesting. But it looks like the Russians have left Kherson in Ukraine. So the Ukraine, I think what's been reported about the Ukrainian army being able to fight back effectively against the Russians was evidently very true. Because I even see on Instagram the posts that are being made by these Instagram pages that track the war, and they show like military related posts and whatnot. I'm even seeing footage from over there where the Ukrainian military is using drones to scour like fields where Russian soldiers have built trenches, and the Russian soldiers are like hiding in the trenches, and the Ukrainian operated drone is hovering like hundreds of feet over the soldier, and they just like drop munitions. They just drop like a little tennis ball sized, like it looks like a small bomb right on top of the soldier and just blow him up. I'm like, yo, this is wild. We're just over there murking them like it's in a video game. Boy, warfare, man, drone warfare, like mini drones. We're talking about like drones that like you can go and buy from the store, and it's retrofitted with some type of apparatus that allows the munition, like the small, bomb, to be dropped, and it detonates. I guess once it's dropped from the drone, some type of apparatus pulls a pin in it. It's basically like a little grenade with like little ailerons on the back, little wings on the back. Just drops right down in the trench, right on top of the Russian soldier, and then poof, pow, out of there. It's cold, man. It's cold. So you can see that, I can see that footage, and then they were always good at, from the inception of the Ukrainian Russian conflict. Russia, like, what were they doing? Molotov. The Ukrainians were using Molotov cocktails against Russian tanks. Incredibly effective. Let me tell you something. You give somebody 6 Molotov cocktails, they can burn down a neighborhood. Molotov cocktails are no joke. Those little homemade incendiary devices, basically like grain alcohol or gasoline, any type of accelerant, kerosene, into a bottle, an empty liquor bottle or whatever. So, like a glass bottle, beer bottle, even vodka bottle, whiskey bottle, a rag drenched in said accelerant, lit like a fuse, thrown up against something, boom, man. And they're also using the drones. They're also using the drones to take out tanks. Um, it's just interesting stuff. It's interesting stuff. And then with social media, these videos, everything is recorded, so the videos find their way to social media. They're uploaded, which is like cool. It's a cool thing. And yeah, they're shown, shared on social media. But nevertheless, the Ukrainians are putting up a good fight. That national pride that they have. I think patriotism. Patriotism is a powerful thing. Patriotism is incredibly powerful. Um, and the Ukrainians are fighting back and winning the war, and good for them. Good for them. Because Vladimir, Vladimir's not a good guy. Vladimir's not a good guy. And to the extent to which he understands the ramifications of his actions and his behavior, I don't know. I'm not totally confident that he may totally get how he behaves may affect not just that particular part of the world, but like globally, because he's even flirted with like he's threatened to like use nuclear options, and that's a no. That's a big no. That is like world changing, life altering type of stuff. Yeah. Oh, and then Trump has announced after midterms, about a week after the midterms, he announced that he's going to run for president again, which played well in the room because those are all his acolytes and supporters there. And then it could be the worst thing that's ever happened to Republicans and the best thing that's ever happened to Democrats. His involvement in politics, because even though he was elected the president for um, his first term, he was also defeated by Joe Biden, so he didn't get a second term. But Trumpism is still alive and well, and still thriving, and still like a big deal um, in politics in America. The the Republican establishment, of course, does not like Donald Trump because he's a disruptor. And nobody gets Democrats motivated to vote like Donald Trump. And there were several things working against Republicans which impeded their ability to be able to complete their red wave. One of them being Roe versus Wade. And then I think the fatigue that a lot of the electorate has with not necessarily the Republican Party, but Trumpism in and of itself. Um, so yeah, so we're gonna do for the next 2 years. We're gonna do the same thing we did when he ran the first time, and even when he governed, because he never really stopped campaigning, even after he won. So we're gonna do the same dance that we did, during his first campaign and subsequent election. So yeah, there's that. He's running again. And man, this video that's circulating of these Camden County deputies, sheriff deputies, beating up this inmate in jail. Man, let me tell you something. Once again, those cameras, man. Cameras, boy. Cameras will get you now. These cameras will get you, Jack. Cameras caught the beating on HD, on high definition cameras of the beating of this gentleman. And I don't know exactly what he was in there for, the charges, but like it looks like 4 to 5 deputies came in there and roughed him up, And I don't know the circumstances of the situations which led up to that happening. But yeah, he got handled. Well, things like that were common and handled differently subsequent to the proliferation of CCTV, like closed circuit television, and just surveillance in general. Because those cameras are there for the protection of the deputies, and just once again record keeping. But then it can also, if the deputies are participating in behavior that could be seen to be, not so good, it could be an indictment upon them and their behavior. So the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, is looking into this after the video surfaced of the deputies beating an inmate in the jail. He's a black guy. He got beat up. So there you go. So I'm sure this will be another, this is going to be another one. Another one to be discussed openly, on cable news and social media about, whether or not it was warranted. And of course, it's going to be seen as, police brutality. So I'm sure I'll be hearing about that going forward and in the future. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, Mike Pence gave an interview to David Muir on ABC News about that. He has a new book coming out, and he's talking, I guess, about the events surrounding, January 6th and his term as the Vice President of the United States. And I think he's setting himself up to be a candidate for president in the primary um, phase of the campaign, because even though Donald Trump is essentially the de facto leader of the Republican Party, because he has such a hold over Republican voters. But I think what has happened is there's going to be a move to kind of move away from Donald Trump, because I think there are Republicans in the Republican establishment that see him as the reason why the red wave really didn't materialize the way that they had wanted. So there's going to be like rumblings to like get rid of him, and Ron DeSantis has already kind of been floated as a alternative to Trump. I'm sure Mike Pence is going to attempt to run at getting the nomination of the Republican Party. So it's going to be a fight. They're going to go at each other because there are a lot of Republicans that want to move on from Trump, but they also want to keep the same energy that Trump created in the form of, Trumpism. They like MAGA, they like Trump. Trumpism, they don't like Trump. They want to co-opt the movement that he is seen to have been the creator and the leader of. So that's going to be an interesting thing. But like I said, it's going to be a good time for Democrats to try to make some moves. But I'm not even sure that Joe Biden's going to run again for president. The Democrats need a stronger candidate to go up against. Because let's just assume that Trump gets the nomination. What Democrat can beat Trump? What Democrat can really beat him? Because man, is he on top of the Republican Party. And this time when he campaigns, he might be a little bit more subdued. Yeah, man. But here we are, a week before Thanksgiving. And those are just a few of the things, that have transpired recently in like the past week. But yeah, that was about a good 27 minutes. So yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and sign off now.